right, we are live on Facebook, everyone. So as I give you guys an opportunity to jump on in, I want to let you know I'm super excited about what I have planned for you today. And the person I want to share with you is somebody very special to me. From the first time I ever heard him speak, I was like rapt with what he had to say. And as you know, I speak a lot. I go out in public. I run my own live events. But Pete has a perspective and opened my mind to the possibility of allowing my message to reach a much, much, much larger audience by getting on key stages. And I've trained with him. I've watched people who've trained with him just like blossom. And I just love him because he is so sincere, and his own story, which I don't know that he has time to completely tell today, but is just so touching on how passionate he is about what we do as health and wellness professionals, and how what we do has personally touched his lives, and the impact of speaking and people who've spoken on stages with their amazing messages, and how that's shifted his life. So let me say hi to Pete, and then I'll tell you his official. So Pete, thank you so much for joining us here today.
I'm so excited to be here and so grateful for you and who you are and how you show up in this world. So I'm excited because my promise is by the time we're done, all of your practitioners, all of your community are going to understand how to get their message out on a bigger scale and impact a whole lot more people. And I already know they're impacting a lot of people, but it's like, how do we impact more people? And so that's my promise.
Awesome. Thank you. Because you know we're out to change the world. You know that.
Yes,
I've shared that with you, right?
Yes.
So let me tell you his official bio so you get a little bit of background on to the caliber of person that I'm bringing here to speak to you. In addition to the big heart and the passion for what we do, he's known as the stage whisperer, and he's booked over 25,000 stages worldwide and generated tens of millions of revenue from those stages between him and all the people he's put on stages. And he's been doing this for a long time. And in about 2016, he decided to create a business called Advance Your Reach for him to reach more people and to go online with his amazing system. So I've taken some of his programs, and his amazing growth in the last 3 years, just since I've seen you, has been so remarkable. And he's booked stages from major people like Ryan Dice and JJ Virgin. He's shared stages with people like Michael Phelps and Brendan Burchard. And he's going to talk about why stages, why, you know, we all need to get over our fear of public speaking, which is probably worse than the fear of death for most people, and actually get out there and take what's in here and get it out to the world. So welcome, Pete Vargas.
Hey, I'm excited to be here. Hey, everybody, I'm Pete Vargas. I'm just here. Actually, you might say, man, I don't want to be on stages. Well, guess what? Tonight, I'm on a stage, and I didn't leave my home, and Rita Marie's at her home. And so this is only one of 16 different stages that you can be on. So you don't have to be on a big, scary, crazy stage. However, there's several of you like Rita Marie that need to be on big stages, but that's only one. That's only one of 16. This is a stage right here. And so I'm excited to be with you guys today. I just want to share a couple of things that I believe would be very impactful for you. Rita Marie knows my story, but the reason why I'm so passionate about stages is there was a man that had this mission. So y'all all have these powerful messages and missions to go change health and wellness and to give us a different perspective. You see, for so many years of my life, I just thought it was traditional MD advice that I was supposed to follow. And then I ran into this world, which I will tell you about here in a minute, that's been profound on my health and my wellness. But the reason why I care so much about messages and people that are best kept secrets, that's a thing that a lot of people will say about me, is he takes a best kept secret and helps their message get out there on a bigger way than they've ever gotten out there before. That's what I'm proud of. And so the reason why I care about taking best kept secrets and helping them understand how to get that message out on stages is because there was a man, his name was Daryl Scott. His daughter was the first girl killed at Columbine back in 1999. Just like all of you watching, he felt like he could change the school system in this world. He thought if I could go into the school system, his daughter left him with 6 diaries and a paper called My Ethics, My Codes of Life that she wrote 1 month before she was killed. And she said, I have this theory that if one person will go out of their way to show compassion, that we can start a chain reaction that will ripple around the world. And then she goes on to say, it's not a theory, it's actually a practice that I do every single day. And these are the results. Do you realize that all of you have a theory and all of you have a practice that you know will shift people's lives? The only problem is, why do not more people not know about it? And that's what I want to solve today. A lot of people didn't know about Daryl's message at that time, but just like so many of you, he wanted to get this message into the educational system because he knew he could transform schools, but he wasn't getting it in there. And so I had a mentor say, bring him into your community, have him speak. He's not a big organization. He's making some impact. He should be making a greater impact, but he's so powerful. He's like the best kept secret. That's what Bob Huffaker told me. And so I brought Daryl in, and that night I brought my dad back to the evening event. And just to kind of rewind a little bit, when I was in 6th grade, my grandmother took me away from my dad because of the abusive dad that he was growing up to me. And so I'm 23 years old, and my dad has never told me he's sorry for the things that he had done to me. And that night, Daryl said on April 20th, 1999, I had no idea that my daughter was going to be the first girl killed at Columbine. I had no idea that I would never speak to her again. And he goes, parents, tonight you have the opportunity. You have no idea how long your kids are going to be here. He goes, let them know how much you love them. And for some of you in the room, if you don't feel like you're in good standings with your kids, ask them for your forgiveness. Ask them to forgive. Say, please, I'm sorry. Go apologize. Be the person who leads. And so what did my dad do? Finally, at 23 years old, he wrote me a letter. He said, I'm sorry for the father I've been. Here my son has had an impact on hundreds of kids' lives, and I can't have an impact on my only son's life. I'm asking you for a second chance to do things right. And he told me he loved me for the first time in a long time. That was the day where I understood the power of a message on a stage, because that was the first time my dad listened to anything, because for 15 years, his parents, his siblings, church, counseling, everybody was telling him to make things right with me, but nobody did it in such a compelling way. And finally, 1 hour with one message on one stage prompted my dad to want to take action and reestablish that relationship. And so I called Daryl Scott. I said, Daryl, why aren't you getting your message out to the world on a bigger scale? And he said, Pete, I don't know how to do that. I'm trying all of these things, and I call it the bright, shiny object syndrome. And therefore, I said, let's pull back the curtains and let's start getting you on stages. And so here's the key thing. In 2002, he did about $150,000 in revenues. In 2003, he did $52,000 in revenues. He was going the wrong way. And it's because Columbine was no longer in the news. That didn't make his message any less powerful. And so I said, Daryl, we're going to get you on a stage. And Rita Marie, we got him on one stage. And it was a wrestling because nobody knew him. And that one stage, there were 400 people. And at the end of that presentation, it was like a corporate stage. It was all educators. 350 of them gave us their names back and said, we want more information about you. And 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like 70 or 75 of those schools said, in the next 2 weeks, we want your program. We did 5 times the revenues from that one stage in that 1 hour than he had done the entire 12 months previous. Not the same amount of revenues as the 12 months previous, 5 times from one stage. And that was the day where the light bulb went off to say, the subconscious light bulb went off when my dad said he was sorry. The conscious light bulb went off when I saw, holy cow, this really does work. What I thought worked really does work. And now he's no longer a best kept secret. Now he went from impacting thousands of people to millions of people. He went from students in schools not knowing him to them preventing a teen suicide every single day of the school year, a school shooting every single month of the school year. And he went from a best kept secret to one of the most powerful programs in the educational system. And that's what I want for all of your practitioners in their communities, in their states, and in their nations. That's what I want. So Marie, since that day, I've dedicated my life to stages, and we've been responsible for putting people on 25,000 stages across the world. But so many of those are digital stages. So many of those are local stages in people's backyards. And so many of them are not these big grandiose stages, because all it takes is one stage with 100 of the right people sitting in the audience or sitting on the podcast that can completely transform their practices. And so that's the why behind why I love what I do. Obviously, there's a 2 or 3 things that are important for all of your practitioners to understand, but I just want to pause and see anything that you might want to interject.
Well, I just want to say that every time I've told you, tell the short, medium, and long version of that story, but every single time my eyes well up, because it's so emotional, you know, knowing that this perfect stranger to your father had such a deep impact, that all the decades of lack of connection with his son melted away because he was able to be touched. And we have a big message as health practitioners. We're seeing people suffering and dying every day because they don't know what we know. And if we reach even one person, it makes a difference. But you're saying, you know, the magnitude of what we can reach is enormous. So I just so appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah. So, you know, I would love to kind of maybe give them 2 or 3 nuggets, and then obviously we've got an incredible workshop that we can give to them completely free of charge that's coming up. But there's 3 nuggets that I really want people to understand, I think, the most. Number 1 is like, okay, Pete, that sounds incredible. So what do I need to do? Like, what does that look like in my practice? How does this become practical and applicable in my community or in my state or in my nation? And, you know, in my one-on-one practice or my one-to-many practice or whatever you do. And so that's what I want to teach. And so the very first thing that we needed to get help our very first client on is getting clear on what they communicate and getting confident on what they communicate. And so the first thing is clarity. Like what we have to do is we have to speak in our customer's language. And too many people in the functional medicine space don't speak in their customer's language, they speak in their own language. And therefore, when you talk to me, it's like you're speaking foreign to me, because you might have been in front of me, but you weren't speaking in a way that I understood it. So one of the most powerful things that we do is we pull your message out, we pull your stories out, we pull that out of you and make sure that you're clearly communicating one amazing talk, one. But we got to start by pulling the message, pulling the story, and getting really clear that it's in your customer's language. And so I can talk about, well, you've got to scale a stage and you've got to have a high SVI. And if you don't know the meeting planner, and all of you are like, what are you talking about? That's my language. Right. That's my language. But customer's language says, I want more people in your practices. I want more customers coming through your doors. Yeah. And what if I could show you how stages could be the #1 customer acquisition channel in your practices? That's customer language. The first part is my language. And so the first thing that we do really, really well is we pull your stories, we pull your message, and we make sure to articulate one powerful signature talk that you can begin to communicate. So whether that's us or you're doing that on your own, like what I really want to encourage you to do is create one talk that is in your customer's language, that are the pain points that they feel at night. How do I get this weight off? How do I get healthy? I've tried everything, nothing works. I'm sick and tired of diets. I'm sick and tired of this. That's what I'm laying at bed thinking about at night. I'm not thinking about my laboratory work of 48 different tests that I got to take. Yes, I've done that, but not until I understood in the customer language. So all of that stuff comes later, or what my, whatever, I can't even repeat some of the stuff because I don't even know how to say it. So like, that's the first thing. And the second part of that, this all has to do with your story and your signature talk. That's the first thing. Let's get confident with one talk. And then let's get clear on one talk, and then let's get confident. Here's what I want to tell you. I want to tell you one little hack that will help you overcome the fear of being on a physical stage. For some of you, you might just choose digital stages today, and I'll get there here in a minute. But one little hack. And here's the hack. You know, you have a game-changing, life-changing solution for people. And what happens when people get on a stage is actually the thing that's in their minds is, I would rather be dead than be on the stage. And I think that's crazy, because you would rather be the one in the casket than the one giving the eulogy. Like, dude, I want to be the one giving the eulogy. So I want to give the eulogy. I want to bless that person and say, oh, you know, he was so amazing. And so here's how you overcome that fear. Like, one simple little thing. What happens is the brain neurology says that the majority of the time why people are fearful is the thoughts that they go to the stage with are all self-absorbed thoughts. So you don't even realize that you're actually being selfish. But when I first got on stages, I know this because I was 330 pounds, which I will come back to that here in a minute, and how this community of practitioners saved my life. But when I would get on stage, all I would be thinking about is, I'm 330 pounds. Is my zipper down? Am I sweating? Am I shaking? So they're all about me. And so what happened is, I know you all understand the power of meditation. Then I would get on stage and I would begin to think about the customer. And I would say, we are going to help a lot of those people begin to get on stages and change their businesses forever. Like, there are thousands of stages that are represented out in that audience today. And what I'm about to teach them is going to transform them. And I am going to indirectly make a difference on a lot of people's lives through these doctors today. And literally my mind shifted from self-absorbed, fearful thoughts to the customer's thoughts. And when you go out on stage with customers' thoughts, I just got done on a stage in January of 30,000 people. When 3 years ago, my biggest stage was 12 people. I was only on a stage of 12 people. And literally when I got on that stage, all I did is, that was my mind. I shifted my mind from self-absorbed thoughts to, like, everybody watching this knows they have a genius. So basically I'm asking you to think about the genius that can serve them. Don't think about the fear that harms you. And then look at one person on the left, one person in the middle, and one person in the right. I always find the person that's the Rita Marie, that's shining and that's bright. And literally I have a one-on-one conversation the entire time, because all of your practitioners know how to have one-on-one conversations. So that's all I do. I literally don't look at the rest of the crowd. And here's the crazy thing. The people that I find in the audience, if there's a left, center, and right, find one. If there's just a left and right, find one and one. And literally the people I look at, it's like the majority of the time they become customers of ours too, because it was like we were just having a one-on-one conversation. So Rita, that's the first part. Like, I want them to get clear and I want them to get confident on stages. And then the second part is, all I'm going to tell you is, this world of stages, there are 8 physical stages: keynotes, breakouts, masterminds, offline media, local stages. I love local stages in your backyards. There are 8 different types of offline stages. And the power of you being on an offline stage and speaking for 15, 30, 45, or 60 minutes is, the sales cycle goes from maybe 3 to 6 months to 1 hour, because people connect with you because you have one clear talk. People connect with you, and literally the sales cycle gets condensed to 1 hour. The power of 1 hour on a physical stage is significant on the growth that comes into your business. I was only on 14 physical stages last year, and it generated multiple 7 figures in my business, multiple 7 figures. And so, like, what I really want to encourage you to do is, hey, just start with the local stages. Start there. Don't think about all of the bigger ones. Start with local meetups where doctors and lawyers and executives and CEOs and couples and pastors and teachers and educators, they gather every single month in your backyard. And if you just took this one talk and began to share your message with them, it will be game changer for you. But don't take for granted the offline stage, the online stages. There's 8 online stages that exist too: podcast, summits, lives. This is a live, and 5 others that exist in this online space. And here's the power. I know one practitioner or one service-based company in a local community that all they did is they did a live in, like, there was this moms group, and they did a live in this like Colorado Springs moms group. And out of that live, they became the go-to service-based provider for all of those moms. Think about that for a second. Like, I have a client last week that I think about that he's like, Pete, I don't know if stages will work for me. And he got on one podcast, and he told me about this guy's podcast that he got on, my friend, and told me about the guy's podcast. And he said that one podcast generated multiple 6 figures for me from being on that one podcast. And so I asked my friend, I was like, I heard so-and-so was on your podcast. And he said, and I heard it generated a couple $100,000 in business. And my friend said, actually, it generated a whole lot more than that. We know that it generated more. So, like, this power of digital stages is so huge as well. So let's get one clear talk, and let's begin to get on 5 or 6 physical stages, 10 or 15 digital stages in 2020, and watch what happens in your business as you begin to do that. And then the last piece that I'll talk about, and then I'd love to get your thoughts before I kind of have final thoughts, is what happens when you have one clear talk on one stage. On this stage, we encourage you to give a free gift away.
Yeah.
What happens when you give a free gift away, an assessment or like a trial run or something of that sort, 80 or 90% of them are going to give you their contact information on this physical contact card, 80 to 90% of them. And then 10% of those on the low, like average, 10% of them are going to become customers of yours as you follow up with those contact cards. And so what happens is you leave the stage, you've got all of these contact cards, you just spoke to 100 people, 80 of them gave you their information. We know this because we have data that when you give away a free gift, 80% of them turn it back in. I get 90 to 100%, but most of our students will get 80%. So what happens now is the third part of this equation, which is you scale the stage. And so now you follow up with those 80 people. You follow up with those 80 people. And what happens is as you do a good job following up, 8, 10, 12 of them are going to become clients of yours, literally from one little stage of 100 people. And that's what we call scaling the stage. And now all of a sudden, you know that a stage of 100 is worth 8 new clients to you. My question is, what is 8 new clients worth to you? Like, what's 8 new clients worth to you? Or 16? We've seen people get 16 or 24. And so to bring the whole system together, like I think about Chandler Bolt. Like Chandler Bolt was afraid of stages, Rita Marie, he was afraid. And I said, give it a shot. And he gave it a shot. And he spoke in front of 27 chiropractors. And 9 of them, not 2 or 3 of them, 9 of them became clients. And all of a sudden he's like, wow, $20,000? Like, what if I would have been in front of 270 of them? And he overcame that fear. And in 2018, he took stages seriously. Yeah. And that year, his first year of doing stages, on December 31st, after doing 24 stages that year, he hit $1 million in revenues that he could directly correspond back to those 24 stages. And so that's what I really want your practitioners to really understand is one clear talk, one stage. Yeah, a few dozen's cool. What it will do in scaling past the stage and attracting new customers. And so that's what I'm a believer in. And obviously I have some final thoughts, but I want to get your thoughts before I give those.
Yeah, so what I really come up with is that one clear talk. And I want to know what resources you have to help people to craft that, because that's the biggest piece, right? Because for me, every time somebody asks me to speak on this podcast or that, it's like, oh, they want to talk on digestion, or they want to talk on this, or they want to talk. So I've got a gazillion talks. And really for me, still narrowing down to that one clear talk, maybe because I'm one of these flighty people, has been hard, but I recognize the value of that.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
we need to have some, some good direction to get me back to it.
Yeah, so what I would really encourage people to do, one of the cool things that we're doing is we're doing a workshop over the next 2 weeks. It's a free workshop. It's online. We've charged thousands of dollars for this workshop. 3 years ago, it was actually a product of ours, and we're now rolling it out as a free workshop. And so the cool thing is not only are we going to help them design One Talk, Rita Marie, we're going to help them put it out there on low stakes to my head coach, Pat Quinn. And Pat Quinn is actually going to coach everybody around their talk who actually submit their 3-minute version. So we're not just going to help them design One Talk. We're going to allow them to practice on low stakes and with nothing at hand. And Pat Quinn is going to coach them. And then we're going to help them understand how to get on stages. We're going to give them 1,000 stages that could be their dream stages. And we're going to show them how to win those stages and make stages the biggest customer acquisition channel in their business. And so that's what we're going to do in this workshop. I think you have the link, Rita.
I have the link, and I'm just about to, I'm trying to transfer it from my computer over to my cell phone where I can see the chat on Facebook, and I'm doing that right now. And I'm going to put it in the chat, guys, because I'm going to sign up for this, because I know I've done some of your trainings, and it's like, they're awesome. And I need to get back and really take it seriously this time. So let me see.
Well, this is a brand new training. This training we've never done, brand new. And so, yeah, it's going on from October 24th to November, beginning of November. And it's a free training. So like, I'm really, really excited about it. And yeah, I would love y'all. One of the biggest, the first or second biggest group that we've helped, Rita Marie, here's my kind of last thoughts, in the last year or two, have been health and wellness folks in the functional medicine space. Like, we've helped more people in the functional medicine space and practitioners that are really thinking about things at a different level and changing lives. That's been one of the biggest folks that we've helped out. And here's why I'm so passionate about it. I grew up with a family that was all overweight. My wife, when we got married 17 years ago, had lupus when we got married, and she almost died 3 times. She had a stroke. Her platelets went to like almost like where she shouldn't be alive. And then there was a 3rd time where she got really sick and lost a lot of weight. We had lupus. I'm overweight. My wife has lupus. We can't have kids. And we adopt 3 amazing babies throughout the process because doctors are like, there's no way she will ever get well. She went through multiple rounds of chemo. It was the only route that we could go to get her healthy, or at least that's the message that was being communicated to us. And 3.5 years ago, Rita Marie, I got introduced to her and got introduced to y'all's world. And I sat there astonished that I had never heard this message that y'all are taking to the world. Where was it? Was I confused by it? I don't know, because maybe I just never heard it. But what is happening is the person who controls the microphone controls the influence. Yep. And literally, I heard this message. Not only have I lost 90 pounds and kept it off, not only have I left 90 pounds and kept it off, my wife a few years ago has been in remission with her lupus for a few years now. And to make it even more powerful, we were told we'd never have kids. And 7 months ago, for the first time in 17 years of marriage, we got pregnant when the doctors told us we had 0% chance of getting pregnant. I said, Kim, why do you think it happened now? And she said, because we're healthier than we've ever been. That is the power of the message that you have, and you have a moral obligation to overcome any fears you have, because the stage is the greatest, most powerful, fastest way to make your message stand out to a world that so desperately needs it. And so that's why I'm passionate about this, Rita Marie, and I hope that everybody will go through this workshop, because that in itself will help them understand how to do this well.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing that. And, you know, you make me cry every time I hear you speak, because it is so powerful. And what it comes to mind for me is we owe it to the world to do this. It's not like, oh, I'm too scared, I'm not going to do it, I'll do it next year, blah, blah, blah. We have to do it. We have to do it now, because we don't know who is going to receive that message, where that message is going to land, and what lives we are going to impact right in that moment. And if we said no, or we said later, we're missing the boat on helping so many people who need us, like looking at you and your wife and soon to be baby. I mean, amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, not soon to be, baby's 7 months old. Like, and that's
7 months old.
yeah, she's she's 7 months old. And here's the crazy thing. The doctor had multiple doctors in the waiting room, multiple nurses, because Kim was considered a high risk pregnancy, because she lost her kidney. She's had a stroke. She's been through a lot of pain on her body. And literally the pregnancy was simple and the birth was easy. And she said, it's because we're healthy. That's the message that you're taking to the world, is a message of health that the world doesn't know about. And so that's why I'm excited. And I love you. I appreciate you. You did this live last minute, because you know how we just open up this workshop one time a year, and you're such a big believer in us. And I appreciate you sharing this with your community. So.
Yes. Absolutely. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing. And I encourage everybody, just sign up for it. I'm signing up for it too. Because I've done the same thing with okay, I'm out there, I'm on stages, I'm on a lot of digital stages, but my goal is to get on the big stages. And I worked with him a couple of years. I'm like, oh, I'll do that next year. Oh, I'll do it next year. And it's like, every time I hear him speak, it's like, no, I have to do it now. So we all have to do it now, because we owe it to those people. So Pete, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here, and look forward to seeing you on the workshop.
Thanks so much, Rita Marie.
Bye, everybody. I put the link in the chat, and I'll go back after this is over, and I'll put it in the main part of the message of the Facebook Live. So share this with all your friends, your loved ones, your colleagues, because this is big. We owe it to the world to do this. Thanks, Pete. Much love.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.